Welcome back to Jim Brown's Common Sense. Now, here's your host and professor of Thinkology, Jim Brown.
Well, I bought a lottery ticket last night and got up this morning early, got some coffee before the show, and drove by the big board on a thoroughfare that shows me what the lottery value is. Instead of the $330 million it was yesterday, it's up to $400 million. What would I do with $400 million? I've got all kinds of things I'd do, but how would you take it? Would you take it all in one lump sum? Would you take a payout? And, of course, these same decisions come when you deal with your life insurance planning for your kids. I'm going to talk about that a little bit this morning. Ted Bernstein's joining me. He's a life insurance specialist with decades of background in financial planning, nationally recognized expert in alternative distribution strategies and life insurance product development. We're going to put these questions to him here right now. Ted, good morning. Welcome to the Common Sense Show.
Good morning, Jack.
Now, Ted, I didn't win. I sure was hoping to. I didn't win, but assuming I would have won, I've seen some figures where most people overwhelmingly take the complete payout of a lottery. They take the whole ball of wax. They want the whatever they're entitled to once the taxes are deducted. And is that the best thing to do, or because I guess I worry if it pays out over 20 years and maybe I want to spend the money now. What is the best financial approach if you take something like that if I happen to win the lottery?
Well, if you happen to win the lottery, we really do believe that what you just said about people that overwhelmingly take the lump sum payout leads to all the horrific statistics that we then read about in what happens to lottery winners and their winnings and how quickly they evaporate. There really is a direct link between taking that lump sum payout and then the mismanagement of those funds. And, of course, it's not only the person's issue and fault. You know, that's a lot of money, and the predators come from everywhere preying on people who have come into that kind of money. It's just a lot of responsibility, similar to when an athlete gets a big contract. And so there are alternatives. It's an individual choice, but you just put it front and center, saying, what happens when you come into that huge pile of money? What should you do? Good idea to think about taking installments.
Yeah, and I understand. I guess I'm looking selfishly at the fact that I'm a little older. I'm in my 70s. That, I've got 4 kids I'd like to set up trusts for, let them have that money. They're all successful in their businesses. Some are in real estate. Some are doing a variety of things where if each one, say, had a $15, $20 million trust fund that they could use as collateral for their borrowing, they could do a lot better in their lives, put a trust fund for each of my grandkids up to take care of all their college education. So I guess what you're saying is that as long as I'm responsible and do my right financial planning and put it in that perspective, it might make sense. But the chance of abuse or the chance for someone taking advantage of a less sophisticated investor is so great. And as you pointed out, we've seen a number of lottery winners who are very unhappy. They become alcoholics or they've gone broke. So I guess it's a question of personal responsibility. Does that make sense?
It does. It absolutely does. And winning the lottery, of course, is an event that it happens incredibly infrequently to the population at large. An inheritance, and certainly being the beneficiary of life insurance proceeds, is something that happens much more frequently to people. And the lottery just makes a great example out of what would you do if that happened to you, because ultimately at some point, many people that we know are going to inherit money, or they are going to be the beneficiary of an insurance policy. And fortunately, the change with the life insurance industry, Jim, has been that the change is that the owner, the person buying the life insurance, now has the opportunity at the time they buy the policy to choose, instead of a lump sum for their family, they get to choose how they want those proceeds paid out to their beneficiaries, in what increments and over what period of time.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because traditionally, as you and I know, is your business, if you have term life at the end of a certain period of time, you got a lump sum. If you have whole life, when you pass away, then that money is paid off. Generally, I think most people out there think it's done in one lump sum, to where the family comes into a great deal of money. Then they have to go back to square one with their financial planning. Great to have this money to give us some security, but what do we do with it all? So what you're saying is that someone buying life insurance might say, okay, if something happens to me, I want the family in these different levels to get the money, but I want to lay it out over a period of years so they don't go through it irresponsibly. Is that what you're suggesting, Ted?
That is exactly it. You said it perfectly well, and I will add an extra element of value to this for doing that. So once that decision is made, and we always are the first to emphasize, it doesn't make any difference to us whether someone chooses lump sum or the installment option. But for those that choose the installment option, the cost of the insurance is significantly lower, or for the same premium as you would be paying for a lump sum amount of insurance, you could buy significantly more insurance. And I'm talking up to 50% less cost or 50% more insurance by simply giving the insurance company more time to pay those proceeds. They give you a time value of money reward, if you will.
Well, I guess it comes down to financial planning, which is what you are. I mean, sometimes if you're in a pretty good situation with your insurance where you don't have a big mortgage, there's not a lot of debt or anything like that, then that makes sense. On the other hand, if you've got a big mortgage to pay off and you've got, say, you want to protect your wife, and she's not working, she's a little older, and you want that money to be able to pay off your mortgage, I guess those are all tough decisions, and you really need a financial planner. I mean, you got to get some expert advice on this. Look, I'm a lawyer and have dealt with a number of financial issues, and I'm not sure what to do in cases like this. So if someone with my background can't make those decisions, you probably need to get some professional help, even if you don't have that much you're dealing with. Would you agree with me on that?
Completely, I do. And that is the value of buying insurance from people who are experienced and understand the product and can help you make those decisions and how they fit into your overall plan. And there's a third variation on this theme. So if you will, prior to the last couple of years, life insurance has always been paid out to the beneficiary, or at least the owner had no control over that decision. Now the owner has the option of either a lump sum or installment. But there's a third option, and that is to combine those two. And now we have the best of both worlds. We have the idea of life insurance, and we have the idea of an annuity. Put those two things together, and you can have what we refer to as a hybrid version. So I'm just going to make this simple and say that somebody with a $1 million life insurance policy, today we know those proceeds will be paid a lump sum. But we now know they have the option to turn those payments into, and I'll just make up an example of 10 years, $100,000 a year. But what they can also do is have a partial lump sum. And I'll, again, just make up some numbers and say that in year one, to handle the debt, because there's often some, issues around that and the shock of that. And so you could have a $300,000 lump sum payment and then spread the balance of the $700,000 over whatever period of time you want. So that hybrid really gives people tremendous flexibility coming out of a scenario where there's been no flexibility to now you can literally create the exact type of death benefit solution that you would like for your family to have. And
right.
Oftentimes our advice is to... Sure, go ahead.
Well, Ted, I just wanted to, unfortunately we're out of time, but I want to tell our listeners that you can get more of these options and talk to Ted and see what he's suggesting at his website, which is www.lifeinsuranceconcepts.com. That's lifeinsuranceconcepts.com. That is on my website at JimBrownUSA.com. Ted's picture and his website there, too. Hey, Ted, we're out of time. Glad you joined us today on the Common Sense Show. You gave some good advice, and I hope one of us wins the lottery here in the next few years.
Well, Thanks for having me. Very much so.
All right,
appreciate that.
Take care. Freshen up your coffee. We'll come right back.
You're listening to Jim Brown's Common Sense, right here on the Genesis Communications Radio Network at